Sydney and Lindsay were celebrating their 5th wedding anniversary at a restaurant out of town. At this stage in their relationship, they found themselves growing somewhat bored. During the dinner, a disagreement arose between them regarding the idea of adopting a child. Lindsay expressed her desire for a baby girl, feeling a strong connection to the idea, while Sydney preferred a boy, citing her comfort with raising males due to her experience with younger brothers. Lindsay voiced her longing. "I've always wanted a baby girl. Besides, do you even know how to raise a boy?" Sydney confidently replied, "Yes, I do. I have little brothers." As their dessert arrived, they sat in silence, gazing at the cake, signaling their impasse for the evening. The drive home was equally quiet, filled with contemplation. Upon arriving home, Lindsay, reflecting on their conversation, conceded, "Maybe a little boy wouldn't be so bad. But with all my sisters and my father passing away when I was young, I'm unsure how to raise one." "That is quite a conundrum," Sydney responded. They settled on the couch to watch a movie, maintaining silence for the next 20 minutes. Then, Lindsay shared a peculiar idea. "Sydney, have you ever imagined being a baby boy?" Sydney chuckled. "I have, but I don't see how that relates to our situation." "How is it? If you could, would you choose to start over?" Lindsay inquired. Puzzled, Sydney asked, "How would we even do that?" Lindsay, building on her idea, suggested, "You've got a couple of weeks of vacation coming up, right?" "Yes, but what's your point?" Sydney replied. "How about we use your vacation as a restart? Imagine restarting life, but this time as a boy. I'd get my chance to raise a baby boy, and we could experience what it's like together. You'd play the part of the baby boy, and I'd be the single mom," Lindsay proposed. "You've got to be kidding me. You can't be serious," Sydney exclaimed. "But I am," Lindsay continued. "And second of all, who would know? It'll just be a secret between the two of us." Sydney looked thoughtful for a moment. Then, after what seemed like an eternity, she said, "Fine." Lindsay began to smile, but tried to hide it. "Really?" she asked. "Yes, but let's drop it. We're not going to talk about it until it happens," Sydney responded. Finally, it was a Monday of Sydney and Lindsay's vacation. They were both lying in bed. Lindsay woke up slightly before Sydney, made her morning coffee, drank it, and watched the news. Around 9 o'clock or 9:30 in the morning, she walked into the bedroom and gently roused Sydney. "Time for my baby boy to get up," Lindsay said. Sydney was about to ask for some coffee, but then Lindsay placed her finger over her mouth and said, "Babies don't talk. It's time to put on your dino diapers." Then she promptly went to the drawer, got out a pack of giant adult diapers with dinosaur prints on them, walked over to Sydney, and put one on her along with dinosaur footy pajamas. Sydney sat there in her diaper and pajamas, trying not to laugh at the awkwardness of the situation. Then Lindsay said, "Hey, little baby, I made you some breakfast. After breakfast, we can open your presents, and then we'll go to the park." Lindsay grabbed Sydney by the arm and went into the next room. Sydney was about to ask what was for breakfast, but remembered she wasn't supposed to talk. Lindsay brought out a big kettle for oatmeal. "I have a big day planned out for you," she told Sydney. "First, I'm going to take you to the park. Then I'm going to give you a present for your birthday. How does that feel?" Sydney didn't say anything but made a happy noise. However, she was concerned about going to the park. "Won't people see me like this in the park?" she began to speak. Lindsay pretended to ignore her concern. "I found this cool new park we can visit. It's about an hour away." That was the answer Sydney wanted. She did not want to go to the usual park where they knew many people. Sydney finished her oatmeal without saying anything during the meal. Then Lindsay said, "The baby made a mess," as she wiped his face. Then she told him to go into the bedroom. He went to the bathroom and she changed them, then got him some new clothes, overall shorts and a Spider-Man t-shirt. It took about 20 minutes to put them in the clothes. They walked down the stairs. They walked outside. They noticed Lindsay's hatchback. Cindy went to go to the passenger seat. Then Lindsay reminded her, "No, little one, you're riding in the back today." She opened the back door of the hatchback, revealing a child safety seat that had been installed just for this occasion. Sydney, playing along, climbed into the seat, and Lindsay buckled her in securely. They both couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of the situation, a shared moment of levity amidst their adventurous experiment. As Lindsay drove towards the secluded park, the atmosphere in the car grew lighter. The tension that had been present at the restaurant seemed a distant memory, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and playfulness. They sang along to the radio, with Sydney babbling incoherently to keep up her role, bringing smiles and laughter to both their faces. Upon arrival, the park was indeed remote and empty, offering them the privacy they needed for their unconventional day out. Lindsay took Sydney by the hand, leading her out of the car and into the park. They spent the morning playing on the swings, sliding down the slide, and even having a picnic under a large oak tree, where Sydney was fed small, manageable bites by Lindsay, who was fully embracing her role as a caregiver. This day, strange as it was, brought them closer than they had been in months. It allowed them to step out of their everyday roles and view their relationship from a new perspective. They laughed, played, and for a brief moment, forgot all about the complexities of adulthood. As the sun began to set, they packed up and headed home. In the car, Sydney, still in her childlike role, fell asleep, exhausted from the day's activities. Lindsay drove home, glancing in the rearview mirror at Sydney, feeling a warmth in her heart. She realized that regardless of whether they adopted a boy or a girl, or even if they decided not to adopt at all, their love and commitment to each other were what truly mattered. Back home, as they settled down for the night, Lindsay whispered, "Today was special. It made me realize that it's not about the role we play. It's about the love we share and the life we build together." Sydney, now back to her adult self, nodded in agreement. "I love you, Lindsay, and I'm open to wherever this journey takes us, boy or girl." They embraced, understanding that their adventure had rekindled their connection, reminding them of the love that had brought them together in the first place. The day's events, while unorthodox, had opened a door to a deeper understanding and appreciation for each other's desires and fears. As they drifted off to sleep, they knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together, as partners, as friends, and as lovers.